Alright, and welcome back to my channel. Here we are finally going to review the Flash movie. Finally went ahead and go and see it. We'll talk about it. For those who are watching, if you want me to just go through like the whole movie, do whatever scenes I really like, or just do like a little short review about anything. Like I really have like a list of stuff that I've written down so I don't forget, because I'll forget like pretty easily. I watch videos and I write more stuff down, but I can do either way. I kind of fumble around a lot with my words, so the list kind of helps me a lot. Just want to talk about like the beginning and what the characters, the story, the villains. Pretty much only two villains, a little bit Dark Flash, and then you got like the Kryptonians who show up. Zod is pretty good in this movie. So then we meet this Barry. He's in Central City. He's apparently like low on calories. That was like a big thing in the movie. He was constantly trying to snack, which, I mean, yeah, I get that he needs to eat and everything, but like there was one scene where when he's saving those babies, he like breaks in the vending machine and then he's eating, and that looked really goofy. Like that CGI, that whole scene was kind of threw me off. The beginning of the movie, I was kind of worried. Even the film did grow on me as it went on. At the beginning of the movie, it was kind of worrying because the CGI was weird. The Flash, Barry, he was pretty weird. But he gets called up by Batman or Alfred, and Alfred needs his help. He's on his chase scene, so Barry goes ahead. He's trying to order this thing, but it's got super slow, so he runs off. He gets to Gotham. He gets there pretty quickly. That running scene was pretty cool. So he gets there. He at the hospital scene. The hospital's like breaking down. Barry's on cleanup duty, as he says. So he does that. He saves his babies. That was a good scene. The music was good. The effects were good. It was the blue lightning. Luckily, wasn't there. That would have been a lot harder to watch. They finally added the yellow orange lightning. So that made it really good. So Batman does this chase scene. He chases that one guy, gets to the bridge, and then we meet Wonder Woman. She ends up showing up as the Gal Gadot. She's there again. That's good. She uses the last one truth on Batman and Barry. That was a hilarious scene. Barry's like, I know what this is, but I've never experienced it. I laughed. This is the one of the times I laughed out loud. Pretty funny. So we meet Barry. He's at his job. I don't exactly remember what he does. I know in the comics he's like a forensic scientist and everything. So he goes that he meets Iris again, and he's all nervous and everything. It's a nervous wreck. I forget what she says to him, but it kind of upsets him like a lot. So she comes back later and tries to apologize about that. Every scene of him and Iris, the show Iris kind of messed up that character for me. I mean, this one is definitely better, but as a love interest, I'd like prefer MJ, obviously. Even though MJ's not my favorite, really. But pretty much every running scene in the Flash, he looked good. As I said, I like they finally introduced the orange lightning, but apparently only that suit created it. So when he had it off, it was blue. Luckily, that wasn't too much. For the younger Barry, he had that blue lightning, so you can tell who's who, even though the suits are pretty noticeable. Speed Force looked really good, and the Chrono Ball scene or whatever he does, that was good. Those effects were pretty good. So apparently when he's running, that CGI is supposed to look kind of goofy a little bit. That's what the director said, because that's like Barry's perception. So I can lean on that a little bit, but still some of those scenes were hard to watch. Okay, so Barry gets a call from his dad. He calls his dad. Then he remembers we see his mother's death scene. Well, not really, but we see him like as a kid and what kind of happens and where the story's supposed to go. It's following the Flashpoint storyline where Barry's mom gets killed and Barry goes back in time and messes up the timeline. Of course he does, because why not? No Reverse Flash, we don't know who exactly kills Nora at all. We kind of just get the scene of Barry's dad coming home, and Barry's upstairs and he comes down, and Barry's dad tells him then call 911. So we don't learn anything about who killed Nora, when she got the knife wound in her chest. So Barry's father goes to prison. So he's there, and he's, of course, people think he's murdered, so he's been in jail for all the time, and Barry's has been trying to gather evidence for him, but the security camera doesn't show him lifting his head up. So that's what the one thing that's kind of keeping him there. So that's really unfortunate. Hopefully he does. I mean, he does eventually get out, but Barry kind of messed with the timeline again. So Barry, he ends up getting pretty upset at that. He runs pretty fast. Then he finally like he does the Chrono Ball thing where he goes into like this arena thing, and that's kind of like the time travel type thing. That was okay. Another weird CGI scene where his head like pops through, kind of like the Thor Love and Thunder scene with Axel. That's the one. That's what it kind of reminded me of a little bit. And then after Barry he figures out the like Chrono Ball thing, how he can time travel, then he goes ahead, he meets up with Ben Affleck's Batman, and the Batman, he gives him a pretty good speech about how this is a terrible idea, you could ruin everything, but Barry, the Flash, he loves to mess with the timeline, so he goes ahead, decides to go back in time, save his mom. But then this is where we finally meet one of the villains, the Dark Flash. So when I first saw him, I was thinking he was like kind of like a Time Wraith a little bit from the TV show. The people they go ahead, they chase the speed suits to mess with time. So I was thinking it was kind of something like that, and that's what one of the big problems was going to be in the movie. I thought he would keep showing up, trying to kill this one Barry, but we all know it turns out a lot differently. The ending was very different than I would thought. I'll go into more into that later on. We could do that. So we go ahead. Barry gets tossed out at the point. He goes ahead. He meets his mom, his dad again, and then he notices the younger Barry is there, and he doesn't think he's supposed to be there. So he chases after him, and he ends up talking to him. He tells him about himself. So this younger Barry, I thought he was okay. I liked him a little bit. Yes, he is a little bit over the top and pretty goofy, and tries to have too much humor. And this Barry, our Barry, talks to him a little bit. Gets mad at one point. That kind of calmed him down a little bit. So they figure out that this certain day that this Barry has traveled to is the day that his younger self gets his powers. So they both go to the crime lab. We got the scene where Barry, he phases to the wall, so we learned that he can do that. So that was pretty good. That phasing works out a lot in the movie. So we get to the crime lab. He explains the chemicals and the lightning bolt that hits him. So I like that. I like that they had that as well. So Barry, they're arguing, and then the lightning hits our Barry. It goes through him, that hits the younger Barry. So then the Barry who just got hit, or future Barry, he no longer has his powers. So the younger Barry, now he does, and so they get back to the younger Barry's a room, apartment or something. So this Barry figures out that he has powers, so he runs off, and all hell breaks loose like almost immediately. His clothes start on fire. So he's in the street naked, and he like takes out all the power and everything. He tries to learn how to phase. He phases through the floor. So I would have been really excited to get those powers, but he didn't know. He didn't know like his clothes would burn, so he has to end up making his own suit. But then this Barry gives him his suit because he no longer has his powers, and he needs to figure out how to get them back, because then he'll be stuck here, and that would be a big problem. Okay, what else do we got? So then the Barry also learns that day is the day that Zod is here. So Zod is here. He's coming for Superman, or in this case, Supergirl. So Barry realizes that. He's trying to figure out if there's any Justice League members there. Victor Stone, Aquaman. Then he realizes Batman is here. So he doesn't he then later realizes that this Batman isn't the same Batman he knows. But we end up learning that Barry, he was there, his younger self, he was there when Zod came. He just got his powers, so he tried to go help in the city, Metropolis a little bit. He was only able to save this one kid. He had this like terrible prototype suit. He was tripping over himself a little bit. He was only able to save this one. He's still affected by that to this day. That affected him a lot. So we visit. Go ahead and visit Bruce Wayne. We're trying to find Bruce Wayne, trying to get his help a little bit. When they're in the kitchen and everything, and then Bruce ends up sneaking up on them, and Barry, without the speed, keeps getting knocked over by this Batman, and the Barry with the speed just keeps dodging it. I burst out laughing when Bruce jumped towards Barry, and Barry just moved out of the way, and he fell into the cardboard, and I was like, yep, that's pretty much how it would go. That's Batman vs. the Flash. There we go. They talk to this Bruce. He explains to them a little bit about like how the timeline would work. It doesn't work a certain way. You mess with this stuff. You create a whole new timeline with all these changes. But he doesn't want to help these Barrys, so they go down the Batcave. They get all of his stuff. The older Barry, he's searching for Clark, but he doesn't know. The younger Barry, he's just fooling around, goofing around, doing whatever, sleeping in the Batmobile. But this Batman finally ends up helping them. He's able to locate Supergirl in Siberia. So they decide to go ahead to save Superman, get his help, because Zod, you kind of need Superman to help against these Kryptonians. So they get to Siberia. They end up flying there, because apparently the Barry can't move other people who don't have speed like really far. We kind of see this when the younger Barry moves him out of the way for like 0.2 seconds, and he ends up throwing up all over the place. So they find the little tube thing that Supergirl's getting held in. Batman tries to do these combinations on his little phone, and then the younger Barry just goes and like super speed tries all the combinations. At first I didn't realize what he did until I heard someone in the movies saying, oh, he tried all the combinations. So it's pretty funny. That's one way to do it, I guess. So they save Supergirl. She's very weak. She's very small. They finally get up to the surface after a little help from Bruce. He uses like a bomb, and they lift himself up. They're all surrounded, but Supergirl, she's in the sun now, so now she has her powers, and she takes people down pretty fast. But then she's still pretty weak, so she needs to charge up. Kara, she ends up talking to the two Barrys a little bit, and then she ends up leaving because she still doesn't trust the humans. I mean, of course, the only humans she's known, they've kept her in captivity. She goes to Zod, where they meet with the military, and they don't have any Kryptonians, so they end up fighting each other. And so meanwhile, our Barry, he's trying to get his powers back, trying to recreate his powers. It works almost a little bit, but they don't have enough lightning, so Kara, she ends up returning, lifts him up in the air, she gets hit by lightning. So now we got both Flash, younger Flash, he creates himself a make suit with a Batman suit. I mean, it's an okay for like a first suit, but in terms of all-time Flash suits in the movie, it's probably like one of the worst. But so they finally arrive at the battle scene. Kara, she's going to fight Zod. The two Barrys need to fight the Kryptonians, which they did. They were doing pretty well. I kind of forgot that the Kryptonians are actually like fast. Some of the two Barrys go to attack them. The younger Barry gets hit by it, and I was pretty confused. And he's like, "They're pretty fast, but we're faster." But then everything kind of starts to unravel a little bit. Kara was doing pretty good against Zod. She tries to stop the Ward engines, but he ends up stabbing her, taking the codex out. So then it was kind of like, okay, we need to go back in time and we need to fix this. So they do it a couple of times, try to fix it. Meanwhile, the younger Barry is starting to get confident in his powers, his abilities. He's able to shoot lightning because his suit isn't able to like take energy and dissipate it, so he kind of needs to like let it out. They're able to do pretty good damage against all the Kryptonians. The younger Barry takes out the one Kryptonian. I think it's like Faora. That was one of the best scenes. Our Barry, he vibrates this one guy. I was like, where did he learn that? But it was pretty cool. That's one way to do it. Surprised I was able to kill a Kryptonian. But then our Barry kind of realizes that this is a fixed point and you can't exactly fix it. So in the Corner Ball scene, and Barry is just he's realizing that nothing can be done. Young Barry, he's still trying to say everything to fix this, and he keeps going back in time and doing it, and he's not able to do it. Kara keeps getting killed because Zod is a beast. Zod's been pretty good. So eventually, when the Our Barry, he tries to go and stop the younger Barry from keep going back in time and messing more things up because it can't go any longer. The Dark Flash arrives and he neutralizes Our Barry, and then the young Barry, he comes in, he sees them, and he hits him with his lightning, and then you finally see that this is the younger Barry. He's been here. He's been trying to fix this for all this time, and he's so close, but Our Barry keeps stopping him before he can do it. So you gotta have like the kind of comparison against like Savitar and this Dark Flash. Of course, Savitar is better. His stories and his motivations are so much better. He's so much more menacing. A Dark Flash, you didn't really need him in this movie a little bit. I mean, it was interesting, of course, having this evil Barry. That was pretty good. So we see all the cameos. So I'll talk about that a little bit. Being a Flash movie, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get like any Flash. Like the obvious one is Grant Gustin. I was really, really sad we weren't able to get that. It was mainly like Kryptonian cameos. We got the Nicolas Cage one was alright. That one against a spider. Apparently that was one thing that one director wanted a Superman to fight the spider, so we finally get that. I guess some people might not realize that and be confused about why is Nicolas Cage the Superman. The Jay Garrick that we saw like a little bit, that was like with the helmet and everything, it looked like the one that played by Teddy Sears, but apparently he wasn't credited for like that a cameo, so maybe it wasn't him. But that was the only Flash one we got. We heard that might be like the only Flash one, and I was hoping that it wasn't true, but it ended up being true. So I was kind of very upset about that. I wish Grant was there. The Dark Flash, he ends up he goes ahead, he kills the younger Barry. So then Our Barry decides to finally go back in time and get to the same place that he had gone before, but the tomato sauce, where he placed the tomato sauce in his mother's cart so she would remember, and that would change it. So he goes back, he waits for his past self to leave, so he goes and he takes up the thing. He has a good scene with his mom. That was pretty sad, but he needs getting that closure was pretty good for him. But a little twist at the end is he ends up moving the tomato sauce for his dad, so the dad would look up and see, and so that got him out of prison. And then that kind of unraveled to where the new Batman is the George Clooney one, and he was like, "Who the is this?" That F-bomb was pretty funny. We exit out of the courtroom, the courthouse. Barry has another goofy moment where he's talking about the tomato sauce to the reporters, and then he walks off and meets up with Iris again, and she kind of like demands that he ask her out. She kind of puts him on the spot a little bit, and he's like, "Okay, will you go out with me?" All weird. So got that. So in terms of the sequel, I'm down for a sequel, even with Ezra Miller. I mean, of course, maybe we could do that, but they probably won't do that. but a sequel would be pretty good, like a Reverse Flash, about learning about his mom and who exactly killed her. But the Reverse Flash would be another good story. That'd be good. That'd be a good movie. So all the suits in the movie are Mayberry, his red suit. Everything. The cowl was still a little bit weird to see, but his boots is the cool. It looks goofy and a little bit, and like not the him running scenes where he's just staying there not running. It looks kind of weird. It looks really good when it lights up. All those lines light up, the emblem lights up, and he's running. He has a few good running scenes where he's not running all weird. One of the scenes where he loses his powers and he's trying to figure out if he has his powers again. He goes and he runs around the room, and it looks even more ridiculous than it looks when he's running, doing all the weird stuff. His suit was cool. The Younger Barry, his kind of makeshift suit, is alright. Lakara, the Supergirl suit, actually it grew on me a lot. I still like the skirt. I still like that kind. The pants, it still takes a little bit getting used to, but I like the emblem, and then it goes down the blue. You got the Dark Flash. That was alright because that was all the like Kryptonian armor that he got stuck on him. So that kind of makes sense. He had this purple lightning. I don't know if that has something to do with his connection to Speed Force, or if he's getting so old or something. He had like some new type of power. Our Batman, the new Ben Affleck Batman, his suit was kind of like blue a little bit, so that looked fine. Michael Keaton's Batman, he was pretty good. I didn't know what I would think about having a Batman in a film. I felt like before we didn't really need him. I mean, Barry could figure this all by himself, but eventually we kind of did need him. He did help a lot. He was pretty cool. He had a few good fight scenes, but with that one timeline where the fixed point, he kept on dying. So he was part of that. Him and Kara would always die. He ended up fighting that big Kryptonian, like putting a few bombs on him, but he ended up getting killed. So, but the Michael Keaton, he was cool. Everyone did pretty well. Ezra did pretty well. He played his younger self pretty well. I wonder how much fun that would have been to play two different versions of yourself. It'd be really hard. I don't even know how they do that. Not really too many bad things about CGI. Of course, I didn't really like the low calorie, how much that like affected the story a little bit. But I think that's mainly all I'll talk about. I'm sure I missed a couple of things, but I think probably 7 out of 10. Might watch it. I need to watch it one more time. I've only watched it once. I should watch it one more time, get another good feel of it. But if you guys have any comments, any comments like about what I've gone through, I think in the next video I might think of doing, since we'll watch this. I might have to go back and watch some more of the DC movies, but I might make a list of all my favorite DC movies from, I think there's like 15. I might not include one of the Justice Leagues, but I might end up doing that for a video. I think that'd be pretty fun. A little hard to challenge myself a little bit. That'd be cool. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully, if you guys are still here, thanks for watching. You can like, comment, of course, and then I hope you liked the video. I'll see you guys.